The meeting of the Finance and Appropriations Committee will come to order. Call the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. We have only 2 bills to be able to handle tonight. And since there's only one patron, I think, here at this point, we will call upon Chairman Knight. So.
I don't know if I'm supposed to address y'all as Mr. and Mrs. Chairman or not, but anyways. But
you might run into a little problem with our spouses, but you know. So.
This bill is the Virginia Business Ready Sites Acquisition Fund and Program, and what this bill does, it creates a fund to let the state acquire land for mega sites that are at least 250 acres. And what I can envision, I just want to explain what I was trying to do, is we have mega sites. We're not up to speed on having enough of them. I can envision a locality that someone comes along and says, I've got an offer to put a shopping center on this piece of property. I'm going to sell it, but it's got potential for a mega site. And the man says to the locality, if you don't buy it, you know, I'm going to sell it to the shopping center, and we don't want it to get away from us. So what I envision is creating this fund with MEI oversight on purchasing a piece of land over 250 acres, and then having MEI oversight to be able to sell the land. I do know that there was a little bit of consternation from the localities. The state does not want to get into the land acquisition business. We absolutely want the locality or their economic development authority to buy it. So we have an amendment, Mr. Chairman, on your desk that has a right of first refusal for a locality or their economic development authority to be able to have a right of first refusal, which everyone here knows what that is, so we wouldn't take a first position, we never would. And I can also envision in this that the state may, if MEI says so, take a subordination to a locality. So we always want the state to be the purchaser of last resort. We want to put the localities first. And that is the reason that I brought this bill. I hope we never have to use this bill. I hope the locality, if it's a genuine mega site, that the locality can do it, or the private landowner can do it directly if we have another Hyundai come in town or something like that. But I would hate to lose a potential site that a Hyundai corporation wanted to come into because we had no method to acquire it. And I'd be glad to answer questions, but that's basically what the impetus of the bill is for.
All right. Are there any questions of the patron?
I have questions.
Yes.
I want to channel my board and say, what's worth is worth so much. Can you hear me, Barry?
Yes, sir.
And so my question would be, why would the state purchase, if it can be developed, why wouldn't a private developer come in and grab, you know, an option or something and just hold it if it's going to be a mega site? In other words, why are we being the middleman when you've got private developers, people that have brains, that are, maybe they have contacts in Europe or Asia, and they're like, I'm going to grab that land and I'll try and bring people in. Why do we have to do it?
Right. Well, the thing that kind of brought this to mind is we have a farmer in my neck of the woods that has 4,000 acres down there. It's called the Williams Mega Site. And Mr. Williams is 87 years old. He said he would like to sell this land. If something happens to Mr. Williams, that land is going to go away.
So why wouldn't, say, W. Wynn or whoever a developer is down there go down and grab an option on that land or maybe buy it, hold it, and see if they can. In other words, why is the state of Virginia being the developer when we've got so many people that have the private needs to do that?
Well, that was the problem. We didn't have anybody to do that because nobody, like we're talking about, came in there. This land has been for sale now for 20 years, and nobody has come in there with the deep pockets because, as you know, to option this land off, then you've got to do the wetland jurisdiction in Section 404. You've got to do and see what is farmed wetlands. I mean, I could go on, but people don't want to take the risk. If the state options this land up, then we have the expertise with Rollban or DEQ and these other people to go through and do this.
So final question.
Yes, Senator Peterson.
And I appreciate your humoring me. So your position would be that the state, as the middleman, has certain advantages that they can kind of get the environmental permits and all the other stuff in place, as opposed to say if a private entity does it, and if they just do a buy and hold, that would not be sufficient to say bring in some multinational company.
Yes, sir, because what I could see is I could envision the state buying this land and having the herewithal to hold it for 5 or 6 or 7 years. But on a piece of land like this, it's $50 to $100 million. A lot of developers don't want to hold that land because we're seeing the value on the economic stimulus to the state. They're just seeing it on flipping the land.
I've got a question.
Yes, Senator Edwards.
Same vein, but a different approach. I know there's some localities that have done this, that acquire property, they build buildings, one thing or another, and they sit there, and they don't succeed. I mean, I'm skeptical of the whole concept. Buy the land, build a few buildings, hoping somebody will come in. A lot of times it don't work at all.
Well, sir, I'm not aware of any time that a piece of real estate like you're talking about has had a bona fide appraisal on it, has had VDEP investigate it with their recommendation, have a recommendation from MEI to buy it. I'm not aware that that's ever happened with that set of checks and balances that's in this bill.
I guess, like Senator Peterson, you know, that's what the private sector does.
I wish they would, sir. I honestly wish they would, and we wouldn't need this bill because we've been asking the private sector to buy this or option up this 4,000 acres I'm talking about, and I know that's not unique in itself.
Well, that may be a local issue. I mean, a local issue. I've seen in some places they built these sites, there are a few buildings up, and nothing happens. You know, they sit there for years.
Well, we've got some mega sites in the state of Virginia we've been working on for a long time that are sitting there, and we're waiting for the opportunity, and I think the opportunity is getting a little faster than it was.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
All right, Senator Vogel.
Mr. Chair, is it working? Okay. Mr. Chair, I was just going to make a comment, and I think I would make a motion. That is, I can see, in particular, in the community that I represent, the utility of such a fund. And I have, in fact, worked through this committee over some years, a specific site in my district. And I think that there is a real issue as it relates to the opportunity cost of allowing a really prized site to be utilized for something other than its highest and best use. And in some cases, you just simply do not have the opportunity for a site to be utilized that way. And I can tell you there have been a couple locations through the valley where I know people very much hoped that a prize site would be utilized for prime economic development. And because the resources couldn't be garnered, you couldn't put together a perfect business-ready site utilizing the resources of perhaps a less sophisticated rural community, and it fell apart and went for something that was far less beneficial. And in some of those communities, they desperately need it. And I can tell you there's an area in the district that I represent that is right by the inland port, right on 81, right on 66, and at a certain point in time, that will hopefully come together. But at the end of the day, there's a real opportunity cost there. So I would hope that this is something that the committee would consider. I don't think it does, certainly does not do us any harm. And so with that, I would certainly make the motion that we report the bill.
Second. All right, there's a motion and a second to report the bill. Is there any further discussion or questions of the patron? Yes,
Mr.
Senator
Chair,
Pease.
I think there's a committee substitute.
Mr. Chair, then I would move we adopt the committee substitute.
Did you want to adopt that amendment about the right of first refusal?
All right, we could actually, what we could do is do the committee substitute and then add on the first right of first refusal as an additional amendment to that, and then get to the point where we'll vote on it.
Okay, I'll move the
also.
substitute
Right.
first.
All right, is there, okay, we have a motion for substitute, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, the substitute establishes Section 1 work group to assess and develop recommendations for creating the Business Ready Site program with attention to legislative oversight, best practices for acquisition and development, and other details for such a program. The work group would include the BEDP director, 2 members of each Appropriations Committee, representatives from local economic development entities in urban, suburban, and rural localities, and the Secretary of Commerce and Trade.
Mr. Chairman, I knew that when my bill came across, it was a bill for implementation. And then what you're talking about is just a Section 1 bill, is that right? It's just a study?
No, this is basically moving us forward on things so we can incorporate what we have here, and then we can work on the rest of it through the conference committee on it, and be able to put it in place so that it is available.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm a little confused. Are you going to make this a piece of legislation, or are you going to make this a language amendment in the budget?
We have options to be able to put it into the budget that way, so that would be.
Okay. Well, I'm at the will of the committee, but I was hoping this was going to be
Well,
a
maybe,
piece of
Mr. Chair, I'm going to
standalone.
withdraw my motion because I don't
Okay.
necessarily want that to be a Section 1
Okay.
bill. I would actually like to support the committee passing out the fund.
Mr. Chair, if
Senator Dees.
we pass the committee substitute, we can get the bill to conference.
Yeah,
And so I'll move the substitute.
all right. Okay, we have a motion and a substitute. And then we can add in the right of first refusal type of thing now if you want, so.
Okay. So we've got 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. We do, so. But we work hard, so we know how to get these things done, so.
Okay. We'll go home tonight about 1 a.m.
Yeah. All right. Are there any other questions or discussion on things? All right. Well, we now have the bill before us. We have a motion to report. Is there a second? All right. We will vote on the board, so.
Ayes 15, noes 1.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, members of the committee.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, the other bill we have is from Delegate Adams, but I don't think he is here. Oh, Steve is going to do it, okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Senator Newman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we conform this to my version in transportation, but there are amendments that actually change the time frame, and I would ask the clerk to report the amendments.
Right.
Second.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the amendments change the review by the appropriations chairs for the direction of funds in excess of $35 million. That review has to be completed within 14 days instead of 7, and those changes are on line 49 and 50.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the amendments.
All right, amendments are being offered. There's a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Okay, those are before us, so.
Mr. Chairman, this bill now is basically the bill that came out of transportation when it came out of this committee, except for the time frame difference. And there is money in both the House and the Senate budgets. There's different in amounts, but the language, I think, can be worked out easily now in conference. I would move that the bill as amended be reported.
All right, we have a motion to have the bill be reported with the amendments. And there's a second on that. Any further discussion or questions? All right, well, we will vote on this issue, so.
Ayes 15, noes 1.
All right, ayes 15, noes 1. The bill is reported with amendments. All right.
Mr. Chair.
That is the,
Mr. Chair.
yes. Okay, Senator Peterson.
Yeah, I had one piece of basically unresolved business from yesterday or last week, I guess more precisely. It was House Bill 1452, was with the Medicaid fraud investigators, which does not involve any money, but it got referred to finance. We had defeated that on a 9-7 vote, and I had actually voted to PBI the bill. The bill would take 30 sworn officers with Medicaid fraud and will make them sworn officers that would have certain law enforcement powers. They would have to be accompanied by local law enforcement when they, made any raids or questioned witnesses or anything like that. I'm just bringing it back up so it can be discussed a bit. To be honest, I voted for it after I'd been out of the room and I wasn't quite sure what I was doing, which may be par for the course when I'm here. But I did want to make a motion to reconsider.
Just the bill number?
1452.
1452. Okay, we have a motion to reconsider. We'll vote on the board on that.
Ayes 16, no 0.
All right. And can staff fill us in on this particular issue here, 1452?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, actually I have to ask council to, does the substitute have to be adjusted to remove them from the Virginia law officers? Remember that issue? The wrong draft came from the other committee.
Yes.
I think the intention is not to include it in the Virginia Law Officers Retirement Association. It's just to add them as a law enforcement officer, up to 30 investigators and the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit as law enforcement officers. The main impact will be that they would qualify for the Line of Duty Act benefits.
Okay.
Which of course, I think it was about 30,000 non-general funds is what the Office of the Attorney General would have to pay for that. And then it does have a provision that allows them to execute, I think, search warrants without having.
Right, Mr. Chair, if I might, I think
Yes, Senator Peterson.
it allows them to execute search warrants with local law enforcement agency. So in other words, they can't do it on their own. I think that was the substitute that we passed in courts.
Mr. Chair, the
Yes.
substitute passed in judiciary did not include those things. It did not take out the Valor's provision and did not add in what should have been added in judiciary regarding the search warrants executed at places of abode. So we need to adopt a new substitute.
So I'll move we adopt the new substitute.
All right. Well, I don't think we didn't get to it. We didn't get to it. We made that in
Mr. Chair.
Judiciary, so.
Mr. Chair.
So, yes, Senator McLeod.
So with the substitute, they would or they would not qualify for Valors?
Mr. Chairman, Senator McClellan, they would not qualify for Valors.
And then it would have no fiscal impact?
Only for the Line of Duty Act, which
Right.
is about a $30,000 non-general fund impact that the Office of the Attorney General would have to pay.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments on things? All right, the bill's before us. We have a motion to report?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a motion. Is there a second on the thing? All right, we're with the substitute. And unless there's any other questions or comments, we'll vote now.
Ayes 16, no 0.
All right, that bill is reported. Is there anything else? Yeah, okay. All right, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All right, we're done.